For 3,000 years, the story of King Midas, the man whose touch turned everything to gold, has been just that. A story. A myth. A cautionary tale about greed. But what if it wasn't? What if the legend was just a distorted memory of a real, spectacular treasure? My journey began not in a dusty ruin, but in the quiet archives of a museum in Ankara, Turkey. I was looking at what was supposed to be a Hittite inventory list, but something was off. The writing was Phrygian, from around 700 BC. As I translated the ancient script, my heart started pounding. It was a receipt, a payment record for hiding a royal treasure. And it had a name, the King's Golden Sleep. This wasn't a metaphor for death. In Phrygian culture, it meant a treasure held in reserve. I was holding a receipt for hiding King Midas's lost hoard. The hunt was on. The first clue was cryptic. For the safekeeping of the king's golden sleep, under the watch of the mother, where the stone lion faces the morning sun and the river's voice is silenced. The mother had to be Cybele, the great Phrygian mother goddess. Her most magnificent temple is a place now called the Midas Monument, a massive facade carved right into a cliffside in central Turkey. I traveled to this windswept plateau. The monument is stunning, like a palace frozen in stone. The clue mentioned a stone lion facing the morning sun. There were several eroded lion carvings near the base. So, for 3 days, I got up before dawn and just watched. On the third morning, it happened. As the sun rose, a single beam of light shot between two rocks and lit up one specific lion for just 7 minutes. This lion's mouth was open, and carved faintly inside was the letter M, the first letter of Midas's name. But what about the part where the river's voice is silenced? There's no river there. But geological maps showed an underground aquifer flowing right beneath the monument. Using seismic listening gear, we found a spot directly under that illuminated lion, where the water flow was blocked by a solid rock layer, creating an eerie pocket of silence. This was the place. The first piece of the puzzle was solved. The next clue from the tablet was even more poetic. The key is in the whisper of the rocks. Phrygians were masters of rock acoustics. They built sanctuaries that could manipulate sound. The most famous example is near the ancient capital of Gordion, a set of stairs cut into rock that plays musical notes when you step on them. But that seemed too public for a secret key. Local legends and an old explorer's diary mentioned something else. A hidden, echoing gallery where a man's shout was answered with 7 distinct echoes. After days of searching the rugged hills north of Gordion, we found it. A narrow man-made canyon. We stood at the bottom and shouted. The echo came back not once, but in a 7-note sequence. It was a natural rock gong. By moving around and experimenting, we found one spot where a shout produced a perfect Phrygian musical scale. I hummed the scale, and the sound waves vibrated through the canyon walls. As I hit the 7th and final note, a section of the rock wall visibly trembled. We pushed. With a grating sound, a perfectly counterbalanced stone slab swung open. Inside wasn't gold, but a stone box. And inside the box, a heavy bronze disc shaped like the sun. An inscription on the back read, "He who wears the sun may walk in the king's shadow. Find where my shadow never grows at the height of the year." This was a solar puzzle. The height of the year is the summer solstice. A place where a shadow never grows at noon is typically near the equator. But we were far north of that. The clue had to be architectural, not geographical. We needed a man-made structure designed to create a shadowless effect. The most obvious candidate was the Great Tumulus of Gordion, a massive, 150-foot-high burial mound, believed to be the tomb of Midas's father. So, on the morning of the summer solstice, I climbed to the top, wearing the bronze sun disk. At exactly solar noon, I held the disk out flat. The polished bronze acted like a mirror, casting a bright circle of light onto the ground. I moved the reflection around until it landed on a strange patch of earth where no wild thyme grew. We started digging and found a concealed stone slab. Lifting it revealed a dark, vertical shaft leading down into the heart of the mound. This wasn't the main burial chamber that had been found decades ago. This was something else entirely. A secret entrance. We descended into the darkness, The shaft opened into a tunnel lined with ancient clay bricks. Every 10th brick was stamped with a rose, the symbol of Phrygian royalty. The tunnel ended at a solid wall, with a circular bronze door set into it. The door was covered in a spiral pattern of grooves, and at its center was a sunken slot perfectly matching the sun disk. This was the final lock. I placed the disk into the slot. It fit, but nothing happened. I remembered the clue about the whisper of the rocks. I pressed my ear to the cold metal and heard a faint dripping sound. Then, taking a piece of rock from the echoing gallery, I tapped the disk, recreating the 7-note musical scale. On the 7th strike, a heavy clunk echoed from within. The bronze disk rotated on its own, and with a hiss of ancient air, the door slid open. The chamber beyond glowed in the light of our headlamps. It was a treasury. On one side, the dusty remains of wooden racks had collapsed, revealing solid gold bowls, plates, and drinking horns. On the other side, gold bars, not rectangular like we use today, but oval-shaped loaves, were stacked like firewood. Bags of rotted cloth had spilled over, revealing piles of gold dust and nuggets. In the center of the room, on a stone altar, sat a life-sized solid gold bust of a man in a pointed Phrygian cap. His expression was regal, stern. This was no god. This was a portrait. This was King Midas, and next to the bust was the most incredible find of all. A simple clay pot filled with barley seeds that had been turned into solid gold. A literal physical manifestation of the Midas touch legend. A piece of royal propaganda crafted in metal. This wasn't a tomb, it was a bank vault, the strategic gold reserve of an entire kingdom hidden away for 2,700 years. The total weight of the gold was over 1.8 metric tons, worth over $100 million in bullion alone. But the historical value of the bust, the golden seeds, and the royal crown is simply incalculable. The artifacts are now safe in a museum, rewriting history. King Midas was real. Not a man with a magic curse, but a powerful king whose lands were so rich with gold that the stories of his wealth became a myth that lasted for millennia. His golden touch was real, but it was the touch of a brilliant ruler with incredible resources. We had finally solved his last riddle, hidden in plain sight, protected by science, sound, and the sun. The myth is dead. Long live the king. Thanks for joining me on this incredible adventure. If you love history and treasure hunting, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more. See you next time.